I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead. We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks. And then hopefully, as the experts are predicting, as I think a lot of us are predicting after having studied it so hard, you're going to start seeing some real light at the end of the tunnel. But this is going to be a very painful, very, very painful 2 weeks. When you look and see at night the kind of death that's been caused by this invisible enemy, it's incredible. I was watching last night Governor Murphy of New Jersey say 29 people died today, meaning yesterday, and others talking about numbers far greater. But you get to know a state, I know New Jersey so well, and you hear 29 people, and hundreds in other locations, hundreds in other states. And this is going to be a rough 2-week period. As a nation, we face a difficult few weeks as we approach that really important day when we're going to see things get better all of a sudden. And it's going to be like a burst of light, I really think and I hope. Our strength will be tested and our endurance will be tried, but America will answer with love and courage and ironclad resolve. This is the time for all Americans to come together and do our part. I appreciate a lot of the media. We've had a lot of really good things said. I think only good things can be said when you look at the job that's been done.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, as Q reminds us that the silent war continues, President Trump reminds us that we are fighting a hidden enemy that must be found. We're going to talk about some theories being kicked around, and something my sources have been telling me is very possible that there is actually extraction teams across this country right now going and picking up the criminals who have been committing some very atrocious crimes. We're going to talk about that plus a whole bunch of other breaking news stories you guys are going to want to stick around and check out right here on Just Informed Talk. Hi, my name is Craig. Welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. You guys know, I always like to begin, I say thank you. If you've hit that subscribe button, if you haven't, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, then select the all button so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. We always check the Q board. We're picking up right where we left off. We left off at Q post 3908, and there haven't been any new ones since, but there has been a lot of breaking news and a lot of theories that have been floating around out there that we're going to cover here on this show. We're going to talk about them, and I've been talking to some of my sources, and we're going to get into what I'm hearing is actually going to be coming, and you guys are going to want to get prepared, but we're going to get into that in just 1 minute. But first, I want to remind everybody this video is brought to you in part by RedPillLiving.com/justinformed. Go use the link in the description to check out RedPillLiving.com/justinformed and use the coupon code JUSTINFORMED to get 10% off your purchase today. And the products are really great. You need to check them all out. They got the C60, they got the Great Awakening coffee, which is really great if you love strong and good coffee. But also they have these liposomal vitamin supplements, and now is the exact time we need to be taking our supplements, building up our immunity, and trying to make sure that we get as healthy as we can to make sure that we have our immunities in top working order. And so you need to check out the vitamin C, the vitamin D, the B12, the turmeric, all of it. Go check it out at RedPillLiving.com/justinformed and use that coupon code JUSTINFORMED to get 10% off your order today. So the first thing we're going to talk about here on this episode is going backwards. And as we do a lot of the time here, we always say, future is proving the past, and we have to look back to look forward a lot of the time. And in this particular instance, I want to take us back to almost the beginning of Q, basically. We're talking about November 1st of 2017. Now, I know that there's no way that Q could have known this day would be here in the exact form as it's played itself out, because these plans, but the plan has been evolving over time. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people can't seem to understand. They understand the fact that there's a plan, but they don't understand the fact that the plan can evolve as we go. And as I've talked about before, if you understand how the military works, and this is planned out in a military form, with that kind of precision, I should say, that they plan in contingencies. So they're always preparing for whatever is gonna be coming next, and the unforeseen and the unconsidered consequences or effects of anything are always weighed, and they're always putting together contingency after contingency, contingencies for contingencies, etc. But this post puts it all together exactly perfectly, I think, for us to kind of grasp here what we're dealing with and what QAnon really is and has been from day one. This is saying POTUS will be well insulated, protected on Air Force One and abroad, specific locations classified while these operations are conducted due to the nature of the entrenchment. It is time to take back our country and make America great again. Let us salute and pray for the brave men and women in uniform who will undertake this assignment to bring forth peace, unity, and return power to the people. It is our hope that this message reaches enough people to make a meaningful impact. We cannot yet telegraph this message through normal methods, for reasons I'm sure everyone here can understand. Follow the questions from the previous threads and remain calm. The primary targets are within DC and remain at the top on both sides. The spillover in the streets will be quickly shut down. Look for more false flags, stay alert, be vigilant, and above all, please pray. And then it tells us, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Love is patient, love is kind. And then it says, God bless my fellow Americans, 41020, which we know is the numeric code for the letters DJT, Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States. So just consider what this post in and of itself is telling us, right? It's telling us that everything is going to be all right. We are protected. Patriots are in control, but they've planned for every contingency. And right now what we're seeing, I think, is that plan ultimately continuing to come together. And I've been talking to my sources, and we're going to kind of get into what may or may not be happening and what we've been kind of kicking around as far as thoughts for what's ahead. But that being said, I kind of want to zoom up to another post here that talks about something that's very important, I think, also to understanding everything here. And this is post 1832. This is from August 10th of 2018. Now, what was this talking about? This was talking about HRC and an anon saying that she has taken a number of villages from Haiti. Of course, this is a joke that President Trump made at the dinner that they had. I can't remember the name of the specific dinner, but it was a black tie affair where he basically roasted Hillary. And I'll play the clip right now.
Hillary believes that it's vital to deceive the people by having one public policy and a totally different policy in private. That's okay. I don't know who they're angry at, Hillary, you're right. For example, here she is tonight in public, pretending not to hate Catholics. Now, if some of you haven't noticed, Hillary isn't laughing as much as the rest of us. That's because she knows the jokes. And all of the jokes were given to her in advance of the dinner by Donna Brazil, which is, everyone knows, of course, Hillary's belief that it takes a village, which only makes sense, after all, in places like Haiti, where she's taken a number of them.
So there you heard President Trump make a joke about Hillary Clinton literally taking villages out of Haiti, and also making the joke about how she obviously, according to President Trump, hates Catholics because she was there pretending not to hate Catholics. So understand that those weren't jokes that were meant to be ha-ha funny. They were meant to show everyone in that room and the people there with Hillary that we meant business, that we're not going to back down, and that we are going to expose each and every one of these criminals from these, old bloodlines. I mean, don't forget, there are 13 families in the world that apparently control everything. Now, this is an article written by Rashab Banerjee, and it kind of sums up everything perfectly if you think about what we're battling against. When you say the satanic cabal of globalists, what are you really referring to? You're referring to these old family bloodlines of these rich and royals who have taken generational wealth and leveraged it into this global system of control through leveraging whether it's their wealth or leveraging blackmail, the extortion, the racketeering. And this is what we have to battle. This is what entrenched itself within our country. These are the people, the families, in my opinion, who we need to look at the closest and understand that these bloodlines are permeating all throughout our society and that they connect all the dots that we can't see right now, especially when you see the people they put in power, whether it's in politics or in culture or in corporations. These bloodlines are the people who run these organizations. They run these corporations. They run these basically brainwashing rackets. They're the ones who own the major media corporations. They're the ones who are backing the Hollywood producers who are the slime of the earth, right? The ones in bed with Epstein, literally, probably in some cases. I mean, remember what Nathan Rothschild said. This is a very good quote, and they use it here in the article, and I want to share it. It says, "I care not what puppet is placed on the throne of England to rule the empire. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply." So take that and compound it with the fact that these families have leveraged generational wealth into this massive power that they used to, for instance, what the Rothschilds did with the Bank of England, where they actually used a form of deception to convince the entire banking elite in England that the French had won a certain battle that was integral to a war that then caused those banking elites, those top people who owned all of this wealth, to sell their assets to the Rothschilds for pennies on the dollar. And that's how they gained control there. Another example of this would be what Q has tried to teach us about the Titanic and the formation of the Federal Reserve and how those who stood against it and opposed this cartel of banksters coming in and taking over our country's finances, that they were themselves lost at sea, if you will, which is a term that is used a lot more often, I think, by a lot of people who are in the know than most people would understand, because it relates back to maritime law, which relates back to how they've been able to control this international mercantile trade, and how you have Vatican City, London, and Washington, D.C. acting as these sovereign centers of power, which monitor these international commerce trading lanes. And through monitoring them, they can leverage the information gained by following these international maritime commerce trade routes to say, okay, and I've talked about this before on previous episodes, and I will have people on to talk about this in the future, because there are people who are far more, far better at explaining this and have much more expertise in it. But ultimately what it comes down to is, if you know where people are putting money ahead of troop movements or anything else, you can use that information to your own benefit. Now, that's what these people have been doing on a grand scale for quite some time, it seems. We've seen these graphs before where it talks about the layers of control and how the world is controlled. This all makes sense if you are from one of these bloodlines, because to them, they are the power elite. They are of a, divine bloodline that's better than you or me. And that's why they are meant, I guess, destined, if they, in their world, to control us. Now, we're breaking that system by basically saying that there is no bloodline that is better than the United States idea of American exceptionalism and the power of our republic and the power of our individualism and freedom that we took control of. The revolutionaries of the original Revolutionary War were, as I've heard, and it's been described in history, very dangerous men who stood against very powerful people, right? And ultimately put us in a position where we may have a chance someday to break the bonds of this, generational slavery servitude that we've been put into. But the families here, have been talked about in different ways. Here's another quote that I thought was interesting. It says the US and UK government's relentless backing for the global spread of genetically modified seeds was in fact the implementation of a decades-long policy of the Rockefeller Foundation since the 1930s, when it funded Nazi eugenics research, i.e. mass-scale population reduction and control of darker-skinned races by Anglo-Saxon white elite. As some of the circles saw it, war as a means of population reduction was costly and not that efficient. That's the kind of sickness we're dealing with here, right? That's the kind of people, in my opinion, are behind what we're seeing here more globally speaking. And think about it. You know, they want to pin us against China. I know China has been corrupt. I know that the Communist Party is an authoritarian dictatorship. I know that they covered up the spread, but that has a lot more to do with Guanxi, I think, because the Communist Party didn't want to lose power inside their own country, so they tried to cover it up to save face, and it got way out of control for them. And the people that released this, I think, are connected more, if it is some sort of bioweapon, as has been, alluded to or, theorized by some, that it would be most likely to have been released by the families that we're going to talk about here. And it starts with the Rockefellers and the way that they manipulated the entire banking system here in our country, and the way that they continue to use this wealth that they amassed in congruence with these other major bloodline families to keep us as slaves, as serfs, as sheeple, as chattel, whatever you want to call it. There's a multitude of ways to say it. And I think here are the names of the bloodlines, just to get them out there. If you guys want to do your own research, there's a lot of rabbit holes to get into here. But the Astor bloodline, Bundy bloodline, Collins bloodline, DuPont bloodline, Freeman bloodline, Kennedy bloodline, the Lee bloodline, Onassis bloodline, the Rockefeller bloodline, the Russell bloodline, Van Doyen bloodline, the Merovingian, and the Rothschild. So that's just something I think we have to keep in mind, especially when we read some of these older posts, to understand what Haiti is all about. What is Jeffrey Epstein's island all about? These were it almost is like the low-level minions for these big families who were running these rackets of control, right? And the families have infiltrated all major governments, all globally. They've had their hands in everything, whether it's, China, United States. You've seen it across the board, even Israel and the rest. So that's what Q's been telling us, I think, hinting at for quite some time. And when somebody pointed this out to me, it made perfect sense now. Obviously, we couldn't have seen it then. Remember when Q kept telling us, though, that at some point it will not be safe for them to walk down the street? Well, what are we seeing today? Businesses are shut down. There are laws in place and regulations that are keeping people from leaving their house. There's state and federal mandates as far as social distancing and, quarantining, and the National Guard is out in the streets right now conducting all these, tests for coronavirus. I think that it's very likely that not only is this a very severe type of virus, but it's also maybe a bioweapon. And I've said this before, it is actually a bioweapon in the sense that it came from China, and then China tried to blame our army for releasing it, and then said they would withhold the medicine that we need to stay alive as a form of punishment for saying that the truth, which is that the virus came from Wuhan. So that made it a weapon that weaponized the virus. It took the virus and it weaponized it against us. But Q told us it would not be safe for them to walk down the street, and it seems like it's not safe for them to walk down the street. And let's just put it this way. The video you saw at the beginning of this episode with the Ospreys flying low and conducting what seems to be emissions operations here on U.S. soil, that to me is indicative of something major happening. And every, source I talk to, or the sources I have, at least seem to indicate that that is the case. And they're kind of saying that there's major operations that not only are going down now, but have been going on for quite some time. And a lot of these people, you may have never heard of them, and they've been possibly picked up. They may or may not be, on their way to some, tropical retreat where they will get a swift trial, and, the sentence is what the sentence is. But this is pure evil we're fighting against. And it's not just in Washington, it's around the world too. As Q says, how many in Washington and those around the world in power worship the devil? Is it a conspiracy? Is it fake news? You tell me. The world's watching. Okay? They know what's happening here. And especially those who are in these higher positions of power. So I just thought I'd talk about that, and then we'll go over a few things here. Now, first of all, we know this is something that's crazy. Yesterday, there was a report that came out, or a couple days ago, that talked about suspected SARS virus and flu samples were found in luggage. No big deal. FBI report describes China's biosecurity risk. Now, what I thought was interesting is when I was studying this article, you can see here that what they're basically alleging is that this scientist came over and he had these supposed samples in his bag that he was told by a colleague to bring to the United States. So this guy gets stopped in the Detroit airport, and it turns out that the vials, the samples that he's carrying, both carried actual germ samples, virus samples of the SARS virus and the MERS virus, so Middle Eastern and severe acute respiratory diseases, syndromes. So why would Chinese nationals be bringing vials of containers right here into the United States that contain these germs, possibly weaponized? I'm not sure, but it is interesting to note that you can see here on the samples that it has what appear to be possible airport codes. PBI, I think, is Palm Beach International, and a few others here that, I mean, if you think about it, how would you bring a disease in if you were going to weaponize a germ and bring it into the United States and try to make it spread across the nation? You would take it to an airport, which is the easiest thing to get to from China, and then you would put it in the airport, and then it spreads across the entire world. You just need to hit a few airports. I mean, and the FBI just happened to pick this up not too long ago, and now we're getting the information coming out about it. But nothing to see here. Just ignore that. Not to mention Chinese researchers saying that they isolated the deadly bat coronaviruses near the Wuhan animal market. If by that they mean that they actually were looking at these isolated bat diseases or whatever in the Wuhan University of Technology, and then near there with that level 4 bio facility, bio hazard facility, that's something to look at even more closely. Not to mention here a very strange concentration of cases of this coronavirus seem to be popping up in these ritzy celebrity enclaves like Beverly Hills and Bel Air. Wonder why in the middle of Hollywood you're having the most and severe cases of this virus. Well, from what I'm hearing, like I said, I think a lot of these people are very worried about what's gonna be coming, and I even tweeted something out about this, basically laying it out and saying I'm starting to think that some of those celebrities, these celebrities, who won't stop posting live streams to social media are doing it as a form of self-preservation because they're terrified of V-22 Osprey with an extraction team is going to land on their lawns any minute. And this brings me to the other thing. I want you all to be prepared for anything. As President Trump said in that press conference today, we need to be prepared for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I'm hearing the same thing from my sources. I'm telling you guys, whatever you need to do to get prepared, just keep doing it. And remember that we're going to have to depend on each other through any kind of adversity. So if something happens where, you know, let's just say hypothetically something happened to the internet or something else, you have to be prepared to at least get through the next few weeks. And trust me, there are people, patriots, who are going to be watching out for us. We're going to be just fine. I don't think you should be panicking or worrying. I think if you're one of these criminals who have been in bed with these satanic evil globalists, you probably are going to want to start panicking right now. But if you're just, hardworking patriots who love this country, every one of us will be just fine. So remember that. But also think about it. We're coming to a point now where I believe it seems these operations may be about to go down. So you guys be the judge for yourselves. I'm just talking about this, asking questions. Whatever you think, you believe, that's what you're going to believe. And I want you to use your own logical thinking. Don't just take it from me. Go verify everything I'm talking about. I'll leave links to everything in the description. But don't forget that last year, on this very same day we had, or a few days ago to the day, President Trump proclaimed National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And now we're coming back up on it again. And it's just something to consider about what we're going to be preventing. And not to mention there are people in Hollywood that know what Hollywood really is, and that may be something to look at more closely. Of course, we know that everything we hear from the Chinese government is pretty much not accurate, especially when it says, oh yeah, the United States is the number one. Yeah, okay. I don't believe that. And I think they're obviously covering it up. You have Texas Tech professors out there. This is what we're up against, saying they would reconsider their atheism if Donald Trump were to die of Chinese virus. This is sick. This is disgusting. And these kind of people, I think, don't even understand how they are the ones who are filled with hatred. We are the ones, we don't wish this kind of sickness on others, but they live in such a sick and depraved world that they wish it on others, and it's just terrible. It's really sad, and we should pray for these people because that's what God calls us to do. So that's just a few of the things I wanted to cover here today. Not to mention, we are not releasing cash assets to Iran amid the coronavirus outbreak, because if you think about it, what was this virus meant to do? It was meant to basically make us capitulate. In my opinion, that's why it was at least allowed to spread, because it was supposed to shut down the entire world, put us in a bad position. So that's the way I'm reading it. But you guys, of course, are able to think for yourself on that one. And that's pretty much where I'm going to go ahead and leave it, besides this one last story I want to cover, where a concealed permit holder had apparently killed an alleged attacker and thwarts a mass shooting. Of course, something you're never going to hear in the mainstream news, so I figured I'd cover it here briefly. I'll leave a link to it if you want to read about it in the description. But a concealed carry permit holder shot and killed an alleged attacker in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Friday night, thwarting a mass shooting in the process. But, not going to hear that on the fake news, lamestream media. So that's pretty much where we're going to leave it. A few more things before we go. I have to remind you guys, also this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. Use the link in the description to download it for free. Completely free today. It supports the channel. If you download it, install it, and run it on your computer, it's a better internet browser than anything you've used yet, I think. You can get it for free, and if you use the link in the description, it lets them know that you got it here, and then they'll make a contribution to this channel, so it's a win-win. I encourage you to check it out also. You can come find me over here at JUSTINFORMED on Twitter. That's a great way to connect. Also, I got the BitChute going for the backup channel, Just Informed Talk there. JustinformedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. And of course, you can come over here to Patreon, Patreon.com, crowdfunding website. Your support keeps this channel going in the face of all the demonetization. And I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. Links to everything will be in the description. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, I just want to say this prayer of protection, Psalm 17. This is for all the men and women out there who are fighting, who are in harm's way, who are putting their lives on the line to protect us. I want to say this prayer of protection for them. Father, Lord, this is Psalm 17. Hear a just cause. Pay attention to my cry. Listen to my prayer from lips free of deceit. Let my vindication come from you. For you see what is right. You have tested my heart. You have visited by night. You have tried me and found nothing evil. I have determined that my mouth will not sin. Concerning what people do, by the word of your lips, I have avoided the ways of the violent. My steps are on your paths. My feet have not slipped. I call on you, God, because you will answer me. Listen closely to me. Hear what I say. Display the wonders of your faithful love, Savior of all who seek refuge from those who rebel against your right hand. Guard me as the apple of your eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings from the wicked, who treat me violently, my deadly enemies who surround me. They have become hardened. Their mouths speak arrogantly. They advance against me. Now they surround me. They are determined to throw me to the ground. They are like a lion eager to tear, like a young lion lurking in ambush. Rise up, Lord. Confront him. Bring him down. With your sword save me from the wicked. With your hand, Lord, save me from men of the world whose portion is in this life. You fill their bellies with what you have to store. Their sons are satisfied and they leave their surplus to their children. But I will see your face in righteousness. When I awake, I will be satisfied with your presence. Lord, be with all the men and women out there who are fighting against evil tonight and going into the future. Be with us all. Keep us safe, keep us protected, and help us overcome this evil. And that's my prayer for each and every one of you out there. Amen. And that's pretty much where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Remember to come here, hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and make sure you hit the bell for notifications. And hit it, punch it, tap it, bop it, twist it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.